Time to start, people. All right, call our roll call. We got James Paces here. We got Jenny.
Here.
Connie.
Here.
Janet.
Sort of.
Myself. Susan.
Here.
And Jim.
And here.
All right, everybody's here. We need an approval of meeting minutes for the approval of the meeting.
I have a question.
Okay,
On the minutes, my last name is misspelled and I don't know if that matters. It's with a K instead of a C and I don't know if that matters. On the minutes, not on the agenda, on the minutes. Are we approving the agenda right now? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn.
okay, we'll get to
I'll
that.
make a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have a public communication now for 3 minutes.
The minute.
What?
We need to do the minutes. A motion to approve the
I
minutes.
thought we just did.
We approved the agenda.
Agenda.
Oh, approval of minutes for today, the approval of the minutes for the Fresh Waterways Advisory Board meeting on July 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I would like to just make
As amended.
as amended. Okay, because okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we will go to public communications. Fresh Waterways Advisory Board is providing the opportunity for public comment. Written comments can be submitted to the city clerk's office via email at publiccomment.osgov.com no later than 1 o'clock on August 3rd. Anybody wanting to communicate anything with us? Boy, it's really kind of quiet.
Quiet group today.
All right, well, we'll move on.
Either
I'm a
maybe
little
she
concerned they're
will
not
use
here
it.
yet, and I know she has the link.
Oh, online, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Vita has no comment. Thank you.
Okay.
And Don Williams is here with no comments. Good morning.
Sorry for getting you guys. I'll try to remember for all the rest. All right, city liaison report presented by project manager Becky Leach and Public Works Director Ricky Victoriano. Is he coming?
It is his birthday today. I do not
He's
need,
off today.
Does he want us to sing happy birthday too?
he would definitely appreciate that.
Well, we could do
We
that.
could do that.
So we are going to have Terry McNabb and crew down here next week. They're gonna be doing postings Monday and Tuesday, potentially just Tuesday for the alum treatment, the same way they did the postings for the invasive weed treatment. And then they'll be doing the treatment. That's Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. And so there is sampling that's required to be done so many times by ecology for the cyanobacteria treatment. And our sampling mechanism came in. So next week at 2 o'clock, I've asked him if next week at 2 o'clock, he can show anybody from the Fresh Waterways Advisory Board that wants to be shown how to use this equipment. And I will follow up with I can email everybody, right? I'll follow up with an email that says, like confirming the time and all of that and the place. So there's that. And then the cyanobacteria testing kits that we have, I was gonna bring one to the meeting to show it because some people haven't seen it yet. If you suspect there's cyanobacteria after you do a stick test, Tim Hiles has all of the real tests that get sent into ecology. He has them in his office. And basically there's the bottle in there and there's an ice pack. So you have to have the ice pack cold before you can do the sample because it has to stay cold when it gets sent into ecology. And Tim will send it for us because there's a cost to sending it. And he also has to document with ecology that it's coming so they know ahead of time that it's coming. And then we'll get the results. If they're positive, they get posted on ecology's website. But we'll also get direct communication from them. I'll try to remember to bring them to the next meeting.
They can only be sent on a certain days of the week, right?
Yeah, last year it was like not Mondays and Fridays, so the middle of the week.
Yeah, Wednesdays last year.
Yeah.
So if you test,
Yeah, because it has to be able to get there before it would unthaw.
yeah.
So. Okay, we'll do it.
Does that mean it would be best to test on a Wednesday,
Yep.
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday, probably.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Give it enough time. All right, and Ricky's not here. I was gonna ask him a couple of things. We got, I don't know if you got the pipes out of your canal, the Bass Canal. Do you know if those pipes have been taken out?
I do not.
Okay, so I wanted to find out about that. And there's also in the Bell Canals, there's, when you first go in the Bell Canals, you take a right and the first left, go to the end. There's a place up there that I think somebody, a family or somebody put these pipes, but they're way far out. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, yes.
And I don't know if that's been legal, if they just put it there, but man, somebody could hit that and,
They have been there for a very long time. I do not know if they were ever permitted originally.
yeah.
Who owns those? Supposedly they used to be a fountain. At one time and operated as a fountain. I don't
They
know.
were actually turned on one time.
I have never seen them.
And I've seen them.
I've seen them on one.
Um,
It's just that they're really,
no, I've said that if they were out there, if you were out there at night and you didn't know the Bell Canal well and you didn't know to avoid that and steer clear of that, you could easily hit that.
yeah, and I don't know that it's any of our business or anything to make a big deal of it, but it's just,
I just know, according to local sources that are on those streets, they've been there for years and years. So, and I do not know if they were legally put in originally. They may have. I don't know.
that's something I was gonna talk to him about. I forgot to put my ringer on. So anyhow, that's the things I wanted to talk to him, and then also about the boat, because he was gonna check on it, because the boat is not set up legal at all. We don't have horn, we don't have lights, we don't have, what else? We need whistles on it. There's just a lot, oh, and the numbers, the registration is not registered.
It's not registered.
It's registered,
It is registered.
yes.
But the numbers aren't on.
We don't, but we haven't put the sticker on.
I'm assuming not.
Yeah, and so we need to get that.
All that stuff was given to Ken.
To Ken, okay.
And where is Ken and who is Ken?
Ken is our mechanic and he tracks all of our vehicles for us.
He's in the shop up
The
there.
Public Works Yard.
I'll stop by.
Yes, yeah, go ahead and stop by and talk to him. Just say that Scott there and ask him.
If he's not there, he reports to Ricky, so Ricky could be another contact for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I already talked to Ricky about that and he was gonna do it. I just wanted to see if he had got it done, because I think we're okay to use it, but, you know, I don't want somebody to get a ticket, especially not me.
Well, I always take it, I can't put mine on the boat because it's already in the water, so I don't dare put it on over the side, just in case it falls in, and now I've got to go back up and get it. So, but I just always have it with me in case they pull me over, so maybe that's what,
Ken, you will get a ticket for it.
Yeah, if you have it on you?
No, I had it on wrong. It was on, but it was on wrong.
Your nose and shores?
Yes,
Alrighty.
yeah.
Bodie's tough.
Odie did.
Odie stuff, all right,
Tough.
alrighty.
Might want to get it on right.
Just want to make sure it doesn't fall in the water, that's my.
Yeah. Well, I got some waders you can wear and put them on right. All right.
Scott, you bring it over, I'll take care of it.
Yeah. My doc isn't the best doc to do it on, so I'm interrupting this meeting, so let's go.
All right, so we'll go on now to discussion. Herrera refresher. Question answer with Herrera presented by.
I'm not presenting, but appreciate you put my name on there.
So we thought it would be a good idea to have Herrera come back and talk for 20 minutes to a half hour about the fresh waterway cyanobacteria master plan. And then we'll have time to ask questions as well after they give us a high level overview. So we have Katie Rodriguez from Herrera online right now. Take it away, Katie.
Hi, yeah, thank you for the intro. You can hear me all right?
Yeah, great.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, and you might remember if you were at any of the presentations in person, my name back then was Katie Sweeney. I've since gotten married, so that's why it's Katie Rodriguez, but I promise I'm the same person.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, yeah, so am I able to share screens today? Let me
Should be able to,
share. All right, let me see if I can. Oh, that's going to show up on the wrong screen. Let me shift things around. If it'll let me. One moment. There we go. Now you'll see the whole page. So it'll look like I'm looking away from the camera, but that's just because I'm looking at you guys. All right. How's that?
We have the black screen. There it
There
is.
you got it.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, so thanks for having me back here. I appreciate the opportunity and yeah, I'll just do a quick refresher. This is going to be similar to the final presentation I gave when we published the Freshwaterways Algae Management Plan last August. So I guess it's already been a year now. Wow, congrats. So yeah, please feel free to chime in with questions. I have a bunch of extra slides, should specific questions pop up. And if there's interest, I don't know, feel free to raise your hand and ask me in the middle if it is of interest. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about the water quality in ocean shores as we found it during our study. But I really wanted to focus, I think, on the outcomes of the study and the management plan, assuming that was the main interest, all of the recommendations and the management options that we evaluated during that time.
Correct.
Let's see. Yep, so that's a quick summary of what I just said. Talking through the management plan, some of the water quality results, and overall strategies. So in 2024, we were out several times. Mostly me. We got to explore the canals and lakes and ocean shores, all very lovely for a variety of reasons. Um, what we found was that the entire system as a whole is really eutrophic to hypereutrophic, which are just fancy names for really productive. These are things that y'all already know. There's lots of algae in the system. There are a lot of plants. There's a lot of photosynthesis going on because there is a lot of nutrients. Um, and with warm waters and low oxygen near many of the canals and lake bottoms, we've also found low water clarity due to the algae growth. Excuse me. And I know that there was at least one exceedance of the microcystin toxin due to that cyanobacteria bloom in 2024. I checked out some of the more recent samples that you've collected since then. I haven't seen any exceedances, I believe, but there were just a couple of samples reported on the Northwest Ecology algae site. So you guys probably have better information on the more recent blooms than I do. But back in 2024, we found lots of cyanobacteria, particularly in Duck Lake, Lake Menard, Fishhook, and the Grand Canal South. And like I said before, this is due to the high phosphorus throughout the entire system driving those blooms. And I highlighted these numbers here in red. These are probably the highest values of phosphorus I've seen as a lake manager in Washington. So they're pretty high here. Um, but conditions, as we found, have improved since 1994 when that big KCM study was done. So these are good news. This is due to efforts led by the city with stormwater improvements and septic improvements. So they are working, and those are steps that the city can continue taking to improve what's coming in through the watershed. And I also wanted to note, this is pretty important, that the extent of algae blooms vary between the lakes and canals as we found them in 2024 and between years. But the lakes are still very productive and nutrient rich throughout the entire system year to year. What would be interesting is if we could replicate the study that we did in 2024, or if you guys can. I overheard that you guys have some water quality monitoring equipment coming in to essentially track these trophic state values, the phosphorus, the amount of algae, things like that, in one place for each of the management units. We could see where the algae blooms are happening year to year and maybe the more problematic areas long term. Because what we have right now is the study that we conducted in 2024, where these, 4 areas that I mentioned, we found lots of cyanobacteria. But this could change, right? You could see a lot more cyanobacteria in the bell canals one year versus another year, for example. So, these are trends that ideally we could track. And our reference is comparing them back to that KCM study back in the 90s, which found actually a lot of algae in Bass Canal. Whereas this time around, we didn't really see a lot of algae relative in Bass Canal. So, yeah, just keeping your eyes open on all of these canals is going to be a huge improvement so now versus the last 30 some years. Yeah. And so what are the sources of all of this phosphorus that I was mentioning? It's coming from inside the canals. It's coming from inside the house. It's coming from the sediment in the lake bottom, at the bottom of the canals. When there are low dissolved oxygen conditions, it breaks those bonds with the phosphorus that's there, and allows the phosphorus to become bioavailable. It, returns to the water column for use and uptake by algae. So that's a specific condition that can lead to excess phosphorus every summer. It also comes from decaying aquatic plants and waterfowl. The inputs there can just be recycled into the next year, those deposits. And I can speak more to it later. It's of interest, but not just waterfowl, but also fish. Any fish that are planted can nominally increase the amount of phosphorus through their fecal deposits. The phosphorus is also coming in from external sources, as I sort of also mentioned, coming in from creeks and stormwater runoff. From the 2024 study, we realized that it's mostly coming in from the Oyahut Creek and Clover Creek areas, in addition to the Pacific Boulevard stormwater drains. And I have groundwater here underlined because if you were present during any of those previous meetings, groundwater is accounting for most of the phosphorus coming into the lakes and canals. And so Clover Creek and Oyahut Creek, this is data from the 1990s. This is from the KCM study. So back then it comprised 34% of the phosphorus in the system, or coming into the system, versus shallow groundwater, which accounted for 53%. So that's a really big difference. So groundwater is where that's coming from.
Katie, can you tell us where you tested for Clover Creek? Because that's a question that's come up that I couldn't answer before.
Yeah, I can share with you, I think I have a map in the plan itself. It's going to be hard for me to describe exactly where that monitoring location is, but I can absolutely share that later. I would have to close the screen and open up another one. So remind me when I'm done and I can show you where that monitoring location was.
Okay.
Katie, what all types of things fall into the category under the shallow groundwater?
Shallow groundwater could be, well, anything that percolates in and is kept in that shallow groundwater reservoir. So during high rain events, that could influence the amount and concentrations of phosphorus in the shallow groundwater. But these are more long-term type sources. That have built up over time. And what I was going to mention here next, so you might be getting ahead of me a little bit, is that most of the phosphorus in the groundwater, in the deep and shallow groundwaters, is coming from these ancient buried peatlands that used to be in ocean shores, thousands and thousands of years ago. So these are deposits that were there forever ago, before y'all were there, that and specifically peatlands are really known for their high phosphorus. So they're fossilized, but the phosphorus from that ancient organic material has worked its way into the groundwater and is slowly percolating up and into the surface waters. And this is based on a groundwater study, I think also done in the 90s. I believe that's Rongi and Associates. I can get you that citation later if you're interested. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Just really quickly, because maybe you said it and I missed it. It's possible. The fertilizer runoff that people put in from their lawns, does that affect phosphorus? And if so, where would I see that?
So in Washington, fertilizers, I believe there's a ban on phosphorus in fertilizers
Yeah.
and detergents. But yeah, definitely urge residents to check the labels of the phosphorus, or excuse me, of the fertilizers that you're using. Make sure that they're phosphorus free, because, or at least try to contain where the fertilizers are. There's a variety of other small resident actions that you can take to make sure that the detergents that you're using are also phosphate free. Um, those can, as you say, run off individual properties, into the streets and stormwater system, and eventually make its way into the groundwater, into the fresh waterways. Same thing because Ocean Shores is very sandy. Everything that is on the surface can very easily percolate into the groundwater and very easily make it into the fresh waterways, just very shallow runoff. So, if you're careful about what you put on top of the land, then you're also careful about what's making its way into the fresh waterways, either through shallow groundwater or direct over surface runoff. Yeah, good question. So for example, an easy thing you can do, make sure to pick up pet waste. That's something that is, really important even for fecal and bacteria contamination. But the pets are full of phosphorus. That's a big one. There's not as much that we can do about wildlife, except maybe for those folks that live right on the waterways, you can try to discourage waterfowl, for example. Increase your native plantings around the water's edge. That can also help reduce erosion, and try to reduce the types of environment that would attract, like, say, like large amounts of geese, right? So geese really like having large open spaces, so large swaths of lawn. If you can reduce the amount of lawn you have, then you can also reduce how many geese you have and reduce the amount of phosphorus coming in from them. So those are just a couple of tips and tricks. Also things like washing your car at the car wash where they collect all of the stuff that comes off your, vehicles at the end of the day instead of, running into the stormwater system and into your local streams. All right. Moving along. So we had a lot of phosphorus. We have a lot of algae. What are we going to do about it? That's where we came in to develop this management plan. And this plan is huge. It includes a lot of appendices and a lot of really cool technical information and more information than I have time to go over today. So I'm going to slightly do a speed run through the next couple of slides because they're important in context of overall management of the waterways, but I think you're most interested in the sort of in-water technical management methods. So I'm going to try to get there a little quicker. Um, as you're already working on, which is amazing, the I think core of our management plan depended on breaking up this huge system into more manageable units. So we called them management units. So you're already working with these. This is making hopefully management more manageable. We did this based on the unique hydrology, the shapes of the canals, how water flows through the canals and the lakes. And the water quality in these areas. So we sort of grouped these units based on those characteristics. And hopefully it's going well. Feel free to give me some feedback on how that has worked for you. But that way, I think having each of these individual areas makes it easier to keep eyes on it. Do we have blooms over in the Bell Canals versus Fishhook versus North Duck Lake? And we get to, in this way, also potentially study each of these management units to see, how effective potential management methods are if you want to employ them in one or multiple of these defined areas. But really in recognition that each of these areas is pretty unique. The management plan also established some water quality objectives. The overall goal is to reduce cyanobacteria blooms and improve water quality. The objectives for the entire freshwaterways system as a whole was to increase public awareness of blooms, reduce the number of blooms that occur, and over a certain number of years. This is based on ecology's listing criteria for a water body that would be impaired by harmful algal blooms. So if it's meeting this criteria, then you're also meeting ecology criteria. And you are technically not impaired by blooms if you do meet this criteria. And overall, to get there, we want to reduce this trophic state index value to a lower or mid-eutrophic value. So again, right now you're at a eutrophic or hyper-eutrophic state, which is lots of nutrients, lots of algae. We want to reduce that to a low mid-eutrophic range. And so by definition, this is still a lot of algae and a lot of phosphorus, but it's going to be much more manageable. And we think this is much more achievable for ocean shores based on its current state. And then also evaluating each of those management units individually. We want to see any toxin advisories that happen occurring for a shorter amount of time, so less than 3 consecutive weeks per summer, and then reduce the total amount of summertime algae in each of those areas. We also recommended instituting some water quality and monitoring and cyanobacteria surveillance. It sounds like you guys are already doing that. That's amazing. Glad to see it. You're already doing the surveillance and some discrete cyanotoxin sampling. As I mentioned earlier, it would be ideal to also do some routine water quality monitoring just so we can keep track of those water quality conditions underlying the algae bloom growth. So again, that would be things like tracking temperature, dissolved oxygen, and measuring water clarity through a Secchi disc, and potentially also taking samples for phosphorus or other nutrients. We also recommended developing a communication plan to better communicate, I think, the risks associated with cyanobacteria and toxins and how to spot them, what they look like for both residents and visitors, because they're very different populations. The visitors coming into ocean shores may not have ever heard of a harmful algae bloom and may not know where to look for them. They're not, necessarily looking around every corner of all of the ocean shores, fresh waterways. So we want to make sure that they know how to find that information, where to find it, what blooms look like, and even just overall to be aware of them in general. That's the very first thing, that they should be aware of these things. And if they see things, where should you report it? So these very key aspects to, sharing information about cyanobacteria. Okay, and here we are to start to manage phosphorus. A lot of these I already mentioned a few minutes ago. Since groundwater is, the greatest source of phosphorus to the freshwaterways, it would be great if we could control that. At this time, technologically speaking, we just don't have that ability. We can't go down into the ground and, try to mitigate the phosphorus that's in the groundwater reservoir or dig up those ancient peatlands or anything. So unfortunately, we can't do that at the source, but we can try to reduce how much phosphorus is coming in from groundwater through other in-lake sources, which I'll get to in a minute. Those watershed inputs, we can control those through city actions and residential actions. I just mentioned these: stormwater improvements, residential improvements, check your fertilizers, check your detergents, improve some shoreline habitat. And then in terms of the in-lake controls, controlling that internal reservoir of phosphorus from the sediments, and that's coming in from groundwater, we really want to inactivate the phosphorus. That's going to be the number one, most probably cost-effective, based on our findings, way to reduce algae blooms, and probably the quickest that you'll see. In the water and or sediment, there's phosphorus in both locations. We can also, there's other types of techniques that will reduce cyanobacteria in terms of like physically how well they can grow in an area relative to algae. So it may not decrease total algae, but it'll decrease the toxic ones, which is really the goal here. And overall improve water quality. So those in-water controls that I talked about, we've talked about mixing and circulation technologies. For example, a solar bee. I think you've looked into these a little bit on your own. We've seen mixed impacts on a variety of lakes and canals. It's a technology that's really approachable, modular, and I think is worth trying. And we can talk about that more later if you would like to. Another common technology is oxygenation or aeration. So putting oxygen down at the bottom of a lake um, helps to uh, reduce that chemical reaction that I spoke to earlier, where when there is low dissolved oxygen, that breaks the bonds between phosphorus and the other particles in the sediment and allowing phosphorus to go up into the water column again. If we put oxygen down there, it traps that phosphorus in the sediment. And that can also include phosphorus coming in from groundwater. It keeps it more locked down there, and it helps promote fish habitat. This is better served in lakes, not canals. So when we wrote the plan, we were thinking about oxygenation for Lake Menard specifically would be a great place for this type of technology. We also looked at phosphorus inactivation techniques. Now, this is a chemical control. There are several different options for chemical inactivation and how they're applied, the different dosing mechanisms. I heard you speaking about an alum treatment earlier. I'd love to hear more about the plans that you have for that. I got a small update earlier this year, but it sounds like things are moving forward. Phosphorus inactivation generally can include aluminum sulfate treatments. It can also include lanthanum, which is lanthanum modified bentonite. They act similarly, but they're different chemical compositions and can have different durations. Um, they also cost differently. Um, excuse me. So it depends on the goals of a system and where most of the phosphorus is in that system, and what folks are willing to spend on which chemical you choose. And alum has both alum and lanthanum are sort of proven technologies in Washington State, with alum, I think, having a larger history. Lanthanum is relatively newer. We also discussed algicides, which can be extremely effective. They're really targeted at all types of algae, not just cyanobacteria, but it's a peroxide-based treatment. This is a photo of an algicide treatment at Vancouver Lake in Washington. The main thing to keep in mind with algicides is that though they can be extremely effective, their effectiveness is limited to just a couple of days, really, depending on how much algae is in the system. So it can help improve water quality for really important events on the water, say like if you have a weekend rowing regatta where you really want to make sure the water's safe and clean. This is a good tool for something like that. Or for really small defined areas or spot treatments. It is not a cost-effective long-term solution because it could get very costly very quickly with repeat applications. Dredging, I know, is of interest. I think it was discussed in the KCM report. I want to note here that the sediments are not the primary source of phosphorus, right? It's coming in from groundwater. And so because it's coming in from groundwater and things under the lake and canal beds, that digging deeper holes by dredging out the muck at the bottom would allow for more groundwater to come in. So we kind of have taken dredging off the table for ocean shores. It's just not going to be effective. It's also extremely expensive relative to some of these other techniques. We've also looked at some other more experimental or emerging technologies, things that seem promising but don't have quite the number of studies or locations that have applied them and have seen success. Things like sonication, micro or nanobubbles, sometimes with ozone mixed in, using straw or shading and dyes. So these are all of the things that we considered. They're all detailed in the report and the Appendix C in far more detail. Um, these are sort of the pros and cons list. I already walked through some of the pros and cons with you in the last slide. But is there any questions on these main ones so far that I just quickly went over? All right, I'll move on. This slide is a similar summary of the sort of emerging technologies that I mentioned, sonication, ozone, micro nanobubbles, straw. Some of these could make some pretty decent pilot studies in ocean shores with those defined areas. Um, we looked at micro nanobubbles, for example, or even using straw in a small water body. These could be, I think Ocean Shores has a real opportunity to try out some of these technologies that could be lower cost if they are effective than, say, long-term treatments. Okay. So, in consideration of all of those different types of algae management options, we compiled them all together, like which options should we use and which of these canals and which of these units for how long, we compiled all of that information together into these three, quote, level of service scenarios. So, starting out at scenario one, this is the lowest cost scenario altogether, but it also includes the lowest amount of management overall. And then building our way up to level three, where we're throwing everything we have at the system. We're really trying to tackle harmful algae blooms the best we can at this level of service option. This also costs the most amount of money. So I can walk through these real quick with you. Over here on the left, this is the element of management that I'll be speaking to, and we'll build out these tables to the right as I go on. So these elements include like the administration of, say, grants, if you were to receive any, overall like overhead management of Becky and the team, and organizing meetings and trainings and these types of things. The recommended communication plan we also have here in some of these levels of service, recommended monitoring, watershed management activities by the city, and again, in water management options for each of the management units that we've developed. And then the 20-year estimated annual cost is down at the bottom, developed in 2025 dollars. Or is that good? Are we following? Did I hear something? Someone with a question?
No, you're good.
Okay, great. So at the first level of service scenario, we're mostly looking at just bloom surveillance in terms of monitoring, no extra samples, no in-depth monitoring studies here. We suggested using some solar beads or other enhanced circulation mechanism to increase the flow through the Bell canals, and Bass Canal and Fishhook Canal. So really tackling some of those hard to reach spots and seeing if enhanced circulation would help prevent algae blooms in those areas and prevent algae from growing and being transported to other sections of the canals. And so this is our lowest cost scenario. Again, average annual cost is $41,000 if spread over 20 years. Um, Moving up to level of service two, the main difference with this scenario is that we've added the communication plan here. In addition to the bloom surveillance, we added trophic state monitoring. So getting out there once a month during the summers to look at water clarity and the total amount of phosphorus and a couple other, like say, samples of chlorophyll, in addition to your algae surveillance, to get a better idea of the water quality in each of these segments. So we added that component of monitoring. For in-water management options, each of the canals we assumed would be receiving an annual alum treatment instead of enhanced circulation or being left alone. They're now each getting an annual alum treatment, except for Fishhook Canal, where we suggested perhaps trying algicide in addition to the enhanced circulation devices to help push the algae out of that system. Over the course of 20 years, again, annual average would be 353,000 in terms of the 2025 dollars. So that's a bigger jump for a lot more management out of level service 2. And then our high level of service scenario, where we've got the most service, what can we do if we have all the money we want? And, what do we think would be the most cost effective if, costs weren't quite, if the funding was available, I guess, let's say, what could we do for that? The major difference in this scenario is that we have added watershed management projects that the city might be able to complete. These are stormwater and sewer upgrades. We also added a hypolimnetic oxygenation system for Lake Menard, where we think it would be quite appropriate. So starting out probably with some alum treatments until the system could be designed and implemented. So that takes a number of years to design and construct the system. But once it's up and running, oxygenation will keep the lake oxygenated and great for fish habitat. With occasional iron supplements could be useful here to continue locking in phosphorus over time as more phosphorus is added to the system through groundwater and otherwise, to just increase the amount of binding sites for that phosphorus to lock it in. And then every other management unit to be controlled again with annual alum treatments. And Fishhook Canal can either change to an annual alum treatment if the enhanced circulation and algicide doesn't work for a number of years, or we can potentially keep the enhanced algicide and circulation. Thinking that this might help because the sources in Duck Lake will hopefully be controlled, assuming that most of the cyanobacteria in Fishhook Canal is actually coming from Duck Lake. So if we can control Duck Lake, hopefully we can control Fishhook Canal. That's the thinking. And then all of this for an annual average amount of 570,000. Again, this wouldn't be the same number that you pay every year because different types of management activities would be happening in different years. So some years might be more, some years might be significantly less. This is just the annual average over this long-term period, as what we estimated. Okay. Any questions on these 3 level of service scenarios?
I don't have anybody else.
No, we're good.
All right, great. And I think I have a couple extra slides on it, but the stormwater utility rate study that was developed in tandem with this, they evaluated each of these scenarios, essentially finding that Ocean Shores could afford the highest level of management over here, if desired, pending a couple of dollars of rate increases over the next several years. Yeah.
So Katie, is that what you have for the presentation, or is there more?
This is what I was focused on. I have a couple extra slides if there were specific questions, depending on certain subjects that I can run through if you'd prefer, or we can open it up to your questions or however you'd like to use the remaining time. Yeah.
I just want to let you know that it's like this board's already elected to go to city council with the high level of service, so that we could get started on working on things. And so
Wonderful.
we've already selected that, but if you would just talk a little bit about, there's a lot of confusion about like who you are versus, these services. Because when you say we, it kind of sounds like, you guys are going to be coming in and doing this if we just say, okay, do it. But that's not the case exactly. So if you could just clarify that a little bit for everybody, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really great question, and actually not one that I get that often. So I'm excited that you did ask. So it shows that you really do want to push this forward, um, or at least help, yeah, reduce algae blooms in the lake, functionally, and what that looks like. So I'm a consultant. I'm a limnologist. I'm a technical expert for Herrera Environmental Consultants. When I say we, I mean we as a collective that want to improve ocean shores, usually when I say we. But in another sense, we at Herrera, what we can do to help implement these management activities, because we do that often. We don't just do planning, we also help with the implementation. The major distinction here is that we are not typically contractors, so we can help with the technical specifications and bid document development for hiring contractors that can, say, apply aluminum sulfate. Or that can that make and can install circulation devices. We have contacts with all of these other companies and have worked with them before. So if there is a particular management method that you want to go forward with, we have contacts for them, and we can give them all of the technical specifications. We know that language. We know the water quality in ocean shores. We can sort of be your not to say middleman, but we can help explain the goals of the community to the contractors and vice versa, explain the technical specifications from the contractors and help coordinate the implementation of these devices or applications, what have you. We also write plans, say like alum treatment plans, to help make sure that monitoring requirements are being followed. We can also report to ecology for you on your behalf. So collect all of this information, write it up in a nice, tidy report, send it back to you, also send it to ecology to again help meet those requirements. Um, we also provide contractor oversight. So being on the ground at the lakes and canal sides while contractors are on site to make sure that they're following all of the protocols set forth to protect human and aquatic health. Make sure that yeah, they're doing the monitoring and signage requirements that they're signed up to do. And sometimes double checking their work. If they're monitoring pH in the water, for example, we can take spot treatment or spot values to make sure that what they're reporting is correct. And to if we see something that might be a little bit off, we can help make the call to stop treatment, evaluate the water quality if it's not going as planned, and report out otherwise. Those are all services that we offer. Um, what else we have offered is, for example, the hypolimnetic oxygenation system. Right now, we are currently designing the system with the developer, with the person, with the company that makes these systems. We're designing one of these for Spanaway Lake up in Pierce County. So that's something that we've offered is designing and permitting services for that particular project. And I believe that system will be installed at the end of this year. So that's extremely exciting. We wrote the cyanobacteria management plan for them a few years ago. So we're glad to see that being implemented now. It's taken a couple of years to get that system off the ground, but it'll be the first hypolimnetic oxygenation system of that kind in Washington. So we're excited to see and monitor that moving forward. And then, yeah, I sort of wrapping that all together, we also offer monitoring services outside of even implementing any of these management options. So just understanding long-term health of your system, we can come out and collect water quality information from any or all of these management units. These, are things that we've helped out with many other lake communities in the past, or training opportunities if you have your own devices.
Thank you. On that oxygenation system, which companies putting that in? Like, who are you working with for that lake? Which contractor?
Yeah, good question. Let's see. I'm gonna try to find the contractor real quick in my email. Our so on Herrera's side, my coworker Dylan Anslow has been the primary designer on this, and so she's taken up um working with the contractor, and I cannot remember his name at the moment. So let me
Would
look
that be
that
a
up.
conflict? Would that be a conflict of interest, Katie, to share that design with us and what it does, the science behind it?
Um, I don't know as if it would be a conflict of interest. I don't know as if they're ready to publish those designs yet, or to the level at which they want to publish designs. But I can share some, I can check back and see what sort of high level design information I can share if that's of interest.
Yeah, it would be actually a lot. I'm curious if it's something new or if it's something that's been peer tested.
So that's a great question. This is going to be the first of this technology in Washington State. It has been tested elsewhere in the United States and abroad. This is one of the larger, Spanaway is one of the larger lakes that it will be implemented in. And it's rated for it, but it hasn't quite had the amount of field testing for this large of a lake yet. So that's why we're interested in it. Spanaway Lake is much bigger than Lake Menard, too. So in the size that Lake Menard is, it has been field tested. Um, but it is a relatively newer technology in terms of hypolinitic oxygenation. The one that, and I'm specifically speaking about oxygenation saturation technology. So it's called an OST device. It is a type of oxygenation technology, but oxygenation technology has been around for decades. The previous version of this was called a space cone, for example. That was used in a number of lakes throughout the country for a number of years. So the idea behind the technology is not new. This newest version of the technology improves upon all of those previous designs. Namely that this new version uh, oxygenates the lake bottom, not by adding extra bubbles, which can disrupt the thermocline, but rather adds oxygen directly into the water already dissolved, so that it doesn't disrupt the thermocline, which
So
can
does it
be
fall under more of like a nanobubble technology then?
kind of, not quite nanobubble. It actually infuses oxygen in the lake water within the system itself, and then it pumps that water back out. So it's not even actually releasing any bubbles. Um, but it's a similar concept in that it's already dissolved, or that it's so fine and that it doesn't disturb the layering of the lake, the water columns. Let's see. So.
Katie, I'm sorry, I missed that. What you said the previous version was called?
One of the types, there's a few different types of oxygenation technologies out there. One of the popular ones is called a space cone. That is SPEECE. Space cone. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, and the objective there is to seal down the phosphorus, leave it undisturbed. So we minimize the amount of phosphorus in the water.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yeah. So adding oxygen to the bottom layer of the lake prevents that sort of chemical reaction that I was speaking about, where um, phosphorus can be released from like aluminum and iron in the sediments. So when there's not enough oxygen down there, the phosphorus can be released and it'll mix with the water column, eventually becoming available to algae. But if we put oxygen back down there, it keeps those bonds stable, so that phosphorus is yeah, stuck together with those other elements, much like um, a phosphorus inactivation treatment, right? Where you're adding these chemicals to bind to the phosphorus. It works similarly in that it binds the phosphorus to the existing chemicals down there.
Very cool.
Let's see. So for the OST device, let's see, we're working with, I don't know if there's a chat. Do you guys have access to the chat here? Or is it more useful for me to speak to it?
Yeah,
Not everybody.
not everybody, just
Okay, no worries. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we're
this track.
working. Yeah, the OST device is being constructed, and the original designs were by Clarity Resource Group, specifically with Paul Ganser, and that's Gantzzer. Um, yeah, he's the OST pro. And then our Herrera engineers are working with him, to design it specifically for that lake.
Katie, you have my email. This is James Pace. If you could just forward me that, I'll get it to the rest of the team.
Okay,
Whatever you can share, that would be great.
sure.
Thank you.
Of course.
Does anyone have any questions for Katie? Anybody over there have any questions?
Can you pull up the map with Clover Creek on it?
Oh, yes. Thank you for the reminder. Let me find that here. That should be in our Appendix A.
He was addressing.
I think. Let's see.
James was, like, she's doing something, so.
Figure monitoring stations. There we go. Okay, let me share the
Letting
screen.
them. James was letting them.
Yeah.
Oh, he's at the table.
Yeah.
See. There we are.
Now's the time. If you have a question, now's the time.
Let her show this map first.
Okay. So this is available in Appendix A of the Fresh Waterways Management Plan. I'm going to zoom in here on Clover Creek. So watch your eyes. So we monitor two different locations here at Clover Creek. I believe this is north of the Pacific Boulevard.
Oh,
So down here at the inlet and then upstream in one of the sort of median stormwater ditches.
I know exactly where it is.
Oh, I
Yes.
apologize. There we go. Right here.
Becky,
Yes.
it's right by my house,
Okay.
on the other side of the canal from me.
Okay,
There's a lot over there. I know exactly where it is.
okay, thank you. You're up, Kurt.
Okay.
Or yeah,
I
south of
have
the
two
Pacific
questions,
Boulevard.
Katie.
What was that? Sorry?
I have two questions.
Of course.
The first is regarding those three options. Are we limited to those options or is some sort of cafeteria option available?
Yeah, I mean, these were sort of our evaluation, our first stab at what we think could be most effective at these different cost levels. But certainly some sort of cafeteria option, we can work together to, based on your preferences, yeah, figure out what would be most appropriate for each management unit if there are specific goals that you have in mind.
Okay, second question is, are there grants available for this and can Herrera help find those grants?
Yeah, there's a variety of grants depending on which of the management actions you're looking into. So there are freshwater algae control grants available through ecology. I believe those are about $50,000. So they'll get you a little bit of the way there. There are other types of grants, and I believe we have a list of them, maybe not here, but somewhere that I can find you. That some of the, like the Waterworks grants, for example, are available, but they're not, I believe that they're not for in-water management use. So for example, you wouldn't be able to use those for alum treatments or the oxygenation device. So there are a variety of devices available for different management methods, but they all can't be used for the same things. So if that's not here, I can find a breakdown of some of those resources for you, but we don't typically track those on a year-to-year basis, but we can help, like we can consult with you on what's required for those.
Katie, we can update him on what that
Yeah,
is.
we're
Okay.
speaking,
Can do that.
right?
We'll update you on that, Kurt, if you need information on
Katie,
either one of those.
with our first alum treatment happening this year, the city council has talked about budgeting for future, like next year, putting in the budget operationally for alum treatments. Is that something you recommend that we continue going forward? Okay.
I do. Yeah. So that's something that we scope to do for, a variety of reasons. And I'd love to hear more information too on the alum treatments that will be done. It sounds like that Terry's planning on coming out in the next couple of weeks. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'd be interested to know too the dosage that he's using. Originally in the plan, we were thinking like maybe some low dose treatments to avoid having to use an expensive buffer, but also that would allow, if we're doing annual treatments, low dose is perfectly acceptable as a long-term option because if we're doing annual alum treatments, the rationale behind that is because we can't control groundwater directly, but groundwater is coming in every day, every year, right? So you have this constant inflow of new phosphorus coming in. So to get at that new phosphorus coming in each year, adding additional alum treatments will help control that annual input versus the other option many lakes consider is just a one large big dose all at once, and that can control harmful algae blooms and phosphorus for 10 to 20 years. We don't think that would be very effective here because you have that constant input from groundwater that can't otherwise be controlled. So annual alum treatments we think are the way to go here, and we would recommend putting that in the budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also consider sort of reevaluating and the effectiveness of alum treatments and the particular dosages used after a year or two, just to make sure that the dose that you're providing is working and isn't having any other effects. Not that I would expect it to per se. But yeah, just making sure that you can adaptively manage that alum treatment or expand it to other areas if you aren't treating those other areas. Yeah, so just keep an eye on what you're doing and yeah, make those decisions based on the water quality you're seeing. Are you treating each of the units or are you targeting specific areas?
Targeting specific areas, and I can get all of that information to you.
Okay, great. Yeah, that would be nice to know. Thank you. And has he already done some herbicide treatments too by now?
Yes, he's done 2 rounds so far, which is all we're doing this year.
Okay, nice. Good.
Any questions?
No,
All right.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate you joining our meeting today, Katie.
Yeah,
And
of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Quick little run through. We appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, feel free to pass through any other questions. I'll respond back to James with the OST information. Was there anything else that I should follow up about?
I think you got it pretty much done, and we can probably get with you again and if we have any more questions.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks all for having me. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, we'll move on to old business. First one, previous topic follow-up that we presented by James.
I don't think we really have anything, previous topic follow-up to go over really particularly. The cleanups, we've been working with that. Is no one's here from the Parks Board today, right?
No, yep, yes, there is, right there.
Did you guys have a meeting?
No, it was canceled.
Okay, then we'll wait until you guys have a meeting.
Next week.
Okay. No,
All right,
we have updates on everything we had, pending. I'm a couple with Ricky, but he's not here.
Right.
Let's move on.
Okay, so then we'll go on to National Night Out, presented by Susan.
Well, the event is coming along wonderfully. I'm glad to say, since it's tomorrow evening, beginning at 5 p.m. at the convention center. We have just a record number of community partners that we're just so pleased with. We have 22, including the Fresh Waterways Board, which is taking a table, right?
Yep.
And some of those groups, we do expect to have the Life Flight helicopter in the parking lot unless something detours that from happening, the small one. We've got DSHS, we've got emergency management, fire department, library, community club, public health, just to name a few, but we're very, very excited about it and so grateful to all, not only of the citizens volunteers from the Citizen Patrol that I oversee, but just, like people from the Community Engagement Club are helping, and James Pace may be drafted to help. You just never know. So it's coming along great, and anybody that can come out, we would love to see all of you. So thanks.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for getting us a table. And
Yeah.
getting us-
Oh, I mean, you were so welcome. I am us. So
Yes, you am.
All right, so moving on, we'll go to new business. Yeah, first one, canal signage that I'll go over. What I was looking at on this, we have a lot of problems with a lot of the signs throughout the canals. My wife and I were out trying to clean up one, and it's so bad that if you bump it, they fall over. But then you can't put them back in because they're wood. You can't drive it in. It has to be sunk in with air. But they're rotting. So what I was looking at and thought that we could do is treat our waterways more like we treat our roads and streets around here. Have the Public Works Department keep the signage up. I mean, I don't think it would be too hard to have some galvanized pipes with the signs bolted on them, no wake zones, speed limits or whatever. And anybody can put those in with a sledgehammer to drive that in.
You have wanted like a sign design for the names, because like some of the canals have names, some of them don't at all.
Right,
I'd like to design like something that looks fresh waterwaysy that we could put out and just make it uniform.
that would really be nice. I just think, if we could have the Public Works Department get into that, similar to we've done with, Dolphin Avenue and some of the others. We put a lot of work into them. And I think if we put some of that kind of work into the canals, it's got to be a lot cheaper than putting in the floating buoys that we did. We're going for a grant. Well, that didn't happen. But I think the city could probably afford to do the signage like that and put it in. And, you put in a galvanized pipe there, it's going to last 20 years at least.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've noticed the same issue when I'm out on the boat that, some of the canals have signs, some don't, some are.
Yeah. A lot of the signage that's out there, they're broken. They got moss growing all over them. They need to be replaced. And I think that, the city Public Works could probably handle
Is the first part of that sound like a project to you, or does you think that I can?
No, I think Ricky can take it.
All right. Well, I just gotta create comp with. Do you have a Fresh Waterways logo like that? Is there? Maybe I just get the logo and then we place, that logo, and then we put the name of the canal sort of across it.
I'd be
that.
happy.
But we need to do more than
Okay.
just the names of the canals.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know you want
No wakes and everything.
No way to. No.
They need to be on there a lot because people are on the Grand Canal are just flying.
Are they?
Yeah, so they just need to be seen a lot more.
on the north end, I don't even see one to get
Yeah.
south of.
Well, okay, so I wouldn't put the logo necessarily on the ones that are like the no wake zones ones. I don't know if that would be a city one, but the names themselves, those names, from what I understand, they were done in a contest years ago. But it was never like a city thing. Basically, yeah, they had a drawing like 35, 40 years ago, and name your canal, and if you got your name came up, you got to choose it. So I guess like Orejas Agua and the one that's right next to Orejas Agua, one of the women who just lived on that street was the one who ended up naming those things.
Yeah. If we can get something like that, then I think that would really make things a lot nicer
Okay.
on the canals and easier. It's way cheaper for the city than doing those buoys in the middle.
Oh, yeah, the buoys are expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a lot of money.
The movie came through a federal grant though, right?
Yeah, but they tried to get that last year and that's the one that we couldn't get. So we
No,
just,
that grant didn't.
This
cover
was from the
buoys.
police department.
That grant that we didn't get, that was just specific for the waterway, for treatment to the waterway, right, or to a
I
project.
thought it was for the buoy replacement.
That was in the past and Fody was involved with that one.
Yes.
Yeah, but it got.
We did not receive. a
Right,
grant yet.
that's why I was saying if we,
Most recent one was for,
The
it was either for the algae.
algae one, yeah,
Yeah.
the 50,000, that was
Yeah.
for the algae grant, but the buoy,
had been
had,
gone
yeah,
too.
just because we.
And that's why I think that the city should be able to afford this, because it's a lot less money than doing all this other, and it could be done, I would think, fairly quickly.
And I think Ricky should partner with Fody on it in case he wants to change any speed limit signs or anything.
Cody said that he'd like to have them all say no way, no speed
Yeah.
at all.
Oh, on the same
They
time.
all need to.
Yeah, he doesn't even want speed limits
No, just
out
put
there
it-
at all. He says if any boat goes over 3 miles per hour, it leaves a wake.
Yeah.
He just wants to have it to be.
No way.
No ways, yeah.
We need more of them.
We know that is because we met with him, with the
Yeah.
other group, and so when we were going over some things, he said, don't announce those.
Okay, so I'll set up a meeting with Ricky and Fode and we'll discuss two different types. The one would be the signs that are all the public information signs that are pertinent to that, like the no wake signs, low bridge. I don't know what. Do you have a list of where all the signage is on the fresh waterways?
No, we could go around with a map and we could mark it all.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
That would be helpful to do.
And then there needs to be more of it, because I think some of the signs have probably gone away, or they
Right.
just didn't place a lot of them. Because there's a lot of places in the canals where you don't see anything for a long ways, and people just, especially down where I live in the south end of that big area, they all think it's a lake, and so they hit it.
Where you live, it's kind of probably the area where the people could tend to go fastest, I'm
It is.
guessing, because.
Very much so.
And we've actually cleaned up some of the signs too, just trying to get everything away from them. All the foliage, because they're
Mhm.
starting to bury themselves now, the ones that are on the side,
Yeah.
are burying themselves.
Okay, well, why don't you do this? We'll do two things. You get me the information of like the signs are, especially those that you think are in particular trouble or where they really need to be. I'll set up a meeting with Ricky and Cody and we can kind
Yeah.
of coordinate together.
When you would.
That'd be great.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, absolutely. It's always good to have you guys come, so.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so moving on, the next one is tools and equipment for the canal cleanup. And again, this is something, wanting to see it, I don't think it's a lot of money, but what we've been looking at is by using the boat, the flatbed boat that we have over there. The problem is we don't have anywhere to store anything, okay? And so we were thinking about having, and we had permission, Ricky says, yeah, go ahead for it, but put a box on the back, of the boat by the seat.
Okay.
It's up that we can, store stuff in, and then we need some equipment, for cleaning, pitchforks and.
Right.
So I just looked and found these on, Amazon, put them over there. I didn't know if this is something that, since how it's a city boat, city equipment, if they could purchase those for us and we could get them on the boat.
Well, it's not $1 million ask.
No, it's not. It's like $200 and some off, maybe at the most.
Okay, let me just ask the mayor if he's good with it and we'll get it. I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, 'cause if not,
I don't see a problem. Honestly, this is not this is not a major ask, so, and it makes sense that you have it.
yeah, it's good. I talked with Marshall Reed and he said with the lily pads and that we can, because they are brought in from South America.
Yeah, they're not, yes, I read that. That was very strange. They're selling
Yeah.
our lily pads in our water.
Well, anyhow, he said we could cut them off, and that's what the sickles would be for.
We talked about that. Becky just asked if we had to save some for fish habitat, just so everybody could hear what Becky asked, but we've talked about it, right? We don't want to take all of them out because.
No.
That fish tank.
We're just looking at, like, the entrance to Bass Canal,
Yeah.
maybe you take out one side of it.
Okay,
Right now, you've got them on each side and you can go down the middle, and then some of these little finger canals are really.
There's one on,
where you can't even get in.
Hmm.
So we just thought, in some of those places.
yeah, there are a couple of finger canals on Duck Lake where
Yes.
they're impassable.
Yeah, so if we had that, then we'd be able to use that to get them out. So, all right, and then, to going along with the, canal cleanup is we just need to have a schedule Now, I know you said that you have a Wednesday or two that you can't.
Yeah, I can get with you offline though for that, but I'll try to make what I can, but I'm, over the next month, I'm probably gonna be hit and miss a few times here and there.
Okay. So we're gonna do it again on Wednesdays, 5, 12, 19, and 26. And myself, I'm not gonna be there on the 12th. I have an appointment. But on the 5th, we wanted to finish up with Fish Hook
Yeah, that's
as much as we can. After that, I was wondering if we would want to probably start out on the north end of the Grand Canal.
That's the one where we probably need to go to a Parks Board meeting. At least as many of us as we can. And,
do you know when their
and
next
talk
one
with
is?
them over that. Nicole, is that something we can
19?
do?
Or
Can we
12?
all go to a Parks Board meeting and talk about this?
Second Wednesday.
And so that's the Parks Board
Yeah.
That's on the 12th.
Yes.
at 1 o'clock, right here.
I'll be gone that week.
I won't be able to go either, but I'm gonna put it down there.
Just,
Well, we can do it the next, or
Okay, so anyhow, we'll work on trying to do the Fish Hook this coming up Wednesday. And I'm wanting us to look at it and to really just try the one side. Because I feel like if we spend too much more time there, we're not gonna have enough time to work on this north end. Cause it might take a couple of times a day.
more than that.
You know? So if we start and finish at least one side that's remaining on Fish Hook, then it's opened up pretty much the whole way. And then we can start on something else and we can always go back to that later
maybe,
on.
yeah, maybe one thing to consider when we get to the north, after we meet with the Parks Board and see if they wanna come and do a work through, is maybe on that week, we do it like Wednesday and Friday, or
Possible.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so people can come and help, and we can leave the barge in the water those 3 days until that project's complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I can park it at my
Something to
house.
think about.
I can park, yeah, I could park it too.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that. And then the 19th and 26th will be the same thing. And I'm not gonna write down where we're gonna be because we have too much to go on. So then the only other thing I was thinking about on here is we've been out in the canals and we've seen a lot of homes that have overgrown stuff, and it's not really getting in the way of traveling or anything. But if maybe we could put up a way of a citizen cleanup of their own areas, advertise it as a citywide cleanup day to where people that live on the water can maybe go out and kind of clean up the overhang and everything and have a special day for putting it in on Saturday to get.
See a Marshall nightmare, but
No, just basic cleanup. I mean,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
your
Talk to
easement way,
Right.
a lot of places, that it's just hanging over.
Maybe the good idea would be to sit down with Marshall and get a list of, this is fine, this is.
They've done that.
They've done it? Okay, all right.
Yeah, he said that is, in the easement ways, we could go clean it, but it's not really in the way of.
No, if you've got
It's like, city beautification on the things, and maybe get the citizens that live on the water to have a day that they know that everybody's gonna try to do this. And if they need help to cart it away, maybe we can all sign up to help put it in our pickups and take it.
Okay.
And I've never quite gotten an answer yet, but there are a lot of rotted docks out there.
Lot.
I mean, they are rotted. Well, that's bad for the water. It's very bad for the water. And I had talked to Ricky about it, but I never really got any kind of an answer on. I mean, I know it's not our job to clean them up. It's the citizens' job,
Property owners.
property owners to clean up. But how can the city go about
Only way I can
addressing that?
The way I can think of it is if we were to create an ordinance that you got a rotted dock, you're responsible for removing it.
How do we do that?
Let's create an ordinance.
Is there nothing in the books right now that you would have to maintain a dock?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I have to look at the city code, but I would doubt it.
Is there some way that we could start looking at that on doing something like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the kind of thing we task the planning commission with doing all the time. But if you guys want to take a look at what other municipalities have done, or to start with that basic approach, what do other municipalities have on the books regarding rotted docks? Maybe get some pictures of the worst examples.
Oh, yeah, we probably have some pictures.
How many do you want?
Yeah, no, I know. And then, it's like, we're gonna get a lot of blowback because people are gonna, I can't afford to do that right now.
I know, but the problem is people want people to come here. People want tourism. They want people to buy. I'm sorry, I'm sounding angry, but I am a little angry when you think about this. They want people to buy the property. They want their property to stay valued.
Yeah.
That takes away instantly when people come out and they start looking at that.
Sure.
So,
That's where I would suggest looking, start looking at other municipalities.
okay.
What do they have in their, that are kind of similar to ours that have, because we do have, what do you think we have at dock wise? Do you think we're up at like a 2,000 level, 2,000 docks in the city?
Oh, probably.
Oh, golly.
I would kind of guess.
I don't know.
There's probably 10 to 15% of them that are in bad shape too. And it might be something that we can do as a community, helping someone, if they need help
Yeah.
to get it done, get a group together that doesn't mind.
People really won't be able to afford it. And then a lot of those, I shouldn't say a lot, but I'm willing to bet a fair number of those are people who just own property down here.
Yep.
Bought it and then just don't use it.
You're correct.
Yeah, a lot of it.
There's still a boat almost in the water
Oh, I know. I went by it last night. I know
Is that
exactly.
the one Jeff pulled out?
that's the one Jeff pulled out and
Yeah.
it's still sitting there.
No, and that woman has promised me on several occasions she's gonna come down and deal with it, and she doesn't live here, and she's never come down and done.
Can we get like a contractor that maybe would be available to the people who can't do those cleanings and removals and stuff?
Well, that might be, say, for contractors, and you just gonna have to ask for people that are willing to donate a little bit of time and effort and put into that. Maybe they will, a lot of the contractors have so much work around here anyhow that I don't know.
It'd be nice to, we could, offer some names. Well, I bet we could also just get a huge work group together
Oh,
on
I'm sure we
some
can,
people that are able to go out and start taking, because it's gonna mean getting in the water
yeah.
and
And,
taking these things apart.
Well, the property homeowners that don't wanna re-put one up or just want you to dismantle those, that's a lot easier.
That's the easy.
Yeah, and that's easy, what we can do.
That's
as a
fine.
group.
We just want the rot out of the water.
I mean, that might be even a better way to start than an ordinance, because the minute you start like, making people that have to take it out, now who's the arbiter of whether that dock is rotting or not? Maybe we just start with something even simpler than that. Do you have a dock that's dilapidated and, of no use to you? We can help you take it out. We form a group that starts to help remove that.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I was on it now for the first time yesterday
Okay.
with a group of people. And they were talking about if the docks were removed, they couldn't put a new dock in.
You can get a dock permit. You can come get a permit. I sign off on every dock permit in the
If they
city.
can build.
You know, every dock.
They can't put floating docks.
You permits all the.
No, I can't, I don't think they could do floating docks.
So you private.
Floating docks are no
Yeah.
longer allowed.
I wouldn't talk. Oh, you want a dock? I don't know.
They can get a new.
My house came with a dock. I don't know.
Repair dock.
Permit's not expensive.
Having a permit, like if you have a couple of boards that need to be replaced, you can do that without a permit.
Yes, you don't need a permit to do that,
Yeah,
right?
but if you're taking it all the way out, then you would have to have another permit.
Yes.
To do it in.
Correct. That is correct information.
Well,
Yeah, you can do surface repairs on it, things like that. You can retop them. Yep, that's all allowed. It's just if you if it's totally dilapidated and we rip it out, and let's say you sell your property or you said, I really would like to put a new one in now that that's gone, you have to go through the permit process. Yeah, it's not that cumbersome.
No, it's
No.
not.
They normally kick those out in about 6 weeks. So,
Who would like to take lead on finding out what other municipalities have done?
Oh, you raised your hand so quick. I was gonna do it.
But you guys can do it together over coffee.
Yeah, over coffee.
Oh. All right, anything else on this?
No,
Okay. Next item is the reports for our canal inspections, and we'll start out with you, Susan.
Lake Menard looks lovely. Sounds like it really needs some help, but honestly, it's looking very, very good. You can see to the bottom. I didn't see any signs of anything worrisome.
All right, Jenny?
Both Bell Canal that I did with these lovely people, it was fine, and the North Canal looked fine too. I mean, I understand you just put the stick in, if you bring it out and it doesn't have anything on it, you're good, right?
Yep, good enough.
So,
All right, and Jim?
Yeah, I don't have a kit.
Do you need a kit?
You need a kit.
Wait a
You have
minute.
a,
Do you have a bad area that needs,
Oh, no,
oh, okay, that's all.
Okay,
I
but
just don't have a kid.
Oh,
well, I guess if
They
you go
don't-
down to
kits are
Tim.
expensive, so.
Sure, they are expensive, so when you find an algae bloom,
Uh-huh,
request the kit.
okay.
Yeah, I don't need to have.
We only really get the kit if we know, if we've done the whole stick thing, and we know we've got algae going,
Okay,
then we need a kit.
Any last?
I don't have, Tim took all of them.
Okay.
All right, Connie, your area?
There's some places on duck that are getting swirly, but it's not bacteria. It's just that green smelly stuff, that swirly kind of stuff is all. But other than that, I'm really not seeing any, in fact, I'm not seeing any algae right now.
And Janet?
Bass looks pretty good. It even looked naturally green a couple of days, not bad green.
Not that brownish stuff.
No, it was a good green. I can get a picture of that. Is it sky green? Why is it looking green? Trying to figure out if it was a reflection of the, I don't know, but it looked pretty good a couple of days.
That's
But,
good.
nothing weird yet.
Okay. And I've got the last three on the South Grand Canal. It's not really looking bad. It's got some of that green that's going over it too, but not the pennywort bloom or whatever that we've seen in the North Canal. So, and then Fish Hook is actually, I think, looks better than.
Looks great, I think. I think it looks better than I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good.
And it doesn't stink.
Right. And the same with the south end of the Duck Lake. They're all looking pretty good. Yeah, so I think we're,
Good selling point for tourism.
yeah.
Doesn't stink.
For the fish hook, that is a very good selling point.
And going with Susan was saying about Lake Menard looking so good. I was out fishing with Jeff out that way. And it's amazing. We were going all around the edges. And the way you can see it is so clear.
It is so
I
clear.
mean, it's wait on, you can see the shelves where they drop off. And if you see
Wow.
fish, you can just watch them swim around. It is, I don't know why on here all of the people talking so bad about how well we're gonna do this in Lake Menard.
Yeah.
It's looking great. So I
I'm
think
noticing that the Grand is where I'm at, where I am, the Grand is much more clear. And today I was actually standing on my deck watching the carp out there. Now, it's now, I've never seen that before like that, because typically you have to go down there and wear polarized glasses to see them. But I was on my deck watching them on the other side of the dock.
I was
So
sitting-
that tells me a lot.
should have called me. I'd have been down.
About about the size of a small submarine.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah, they're definitely big.
It was cool to see. Anyway.
All right, we'll move on to the council liaison report presented by Kurt.
Last Saturday, the council got together for a finance study session and this whole topic of the Canal Herrera plan came up. Can you say when something will come to council?
We don't have anything yet to have come to council. So I cannot say. I don't know if it'll be 1 month, 6 months. It just depends on how long it takes to get all of our resources in a row and what we're going to do. And most of that is going to be based on cost. I don't think that Katie's numbers were completely accurate. Because the solar bees she had, it either showed like 7 or 14,000 or something. It was way more than that when we met with a solar bee person. So we're reaching out to people, like we're reaching out to people about the windmill option and we'll look at this, the OST device option, because that sounded interesting.
So despite then what she's presenting with all these options and numbers.
Yeah,
We don't actually have anything solid yet, right?
correct. Yeah.
So my big question is, well, you did say you were leaning toward 3,
Yeah.
bringing that forward. That's $500,000. We would need to budget that. Is
Yeah.
that for a single year? Or
That's not 20 years.
That's the
Okay.
average year. over
Average
20
yearly.
years.
The average year over 20.
Every year, if we do that, we would budget the $534,000. That said, to set the stuff up is more expensive. So the first year, we will be spending a lot more money.
Sure.
But each one of those requests would come to council separately also.
The other reason we decided to go with that one was
So say we do,
omit stuff and make it less money in some years. So it was easier to take the more expensive one, omit when we don't need it. But if we're down at one of those bottom ones, we can't just reach up and grab for the rest.
No, can't
Doesn't
add
work that
anything.
way. So it worked better to be at the top level.
And prior to you being here in the meetings, Kurt, there was the discussion around the service levels. So we all talked about it, and like one of your questions was, can you like a la carte the services? And that's basically what this group is doing. Hence this, like we're volunteering our time to go test the water, so we don't have to pay Herrera to test the water for us. So this group's trying to eliminate some of those costs that we would be charged, and we're looking at different options, because as you saw in the presentation, she doesn't really give us an outline of this is the tool, this is what you should be using, and this is where it should go. And, you know, so that's just a high level overview of the problem, like I said before. And then that, to answer your question as well, the contractors and all of those things, that's just a guesstimate that they provided Herrera. It's a consulting firm. They're not the people that are coming and getting their boots in the water and doing the work. We have to find contractors to come out and do what they suggest, the alum treatments. But there's other treatments outside of alum that are more effective than alum. They're just not as studied and tested as long. So that's what this group does in our daily activities, is we're doing the research trying to find out what aeration units we can use, what muck pellets, if we can help to eat the biomass at the bottom. So we don't have anything yet, because every time we come up with something, we go back to the experts, Herrera, not Herrera per se, but some of the vendors, okay, some of the contractors, and some of the contractors, well, we're not just, we elected to award Aquatechnics our contract this year and next year.
This year, it was last year and this year.
Oh, last year and this year. So we agreed, yeah, we'll give Aquatechnics the fund, but we're not bound to just asking Aquatechnics questions. We're reaching out to companies in Maine and California, and we're talking to lake management solution companies all around the country. What are you using? What is working? What isn't working? And so that's why we don't have anything to take to council yet, because this is like the solar bees. The solar bees would work in Lake Menard, but none of it would work in the canal system, because they don't operate in shallow water.
They're too big.
And they're too big.
And they're huge. You'd never get a boat around them. So we don't have anything to present to council yet as a group, because we're still trying to research what these guys have outlined. And we're finding companies. We're going out and we're asking questions. Does this work? Does that work? And if it doesn't, we're not bringing it to council, because it is a lot of money. It's a long investment. So we're trying to figure those things out before we just pull the trigger and go to council and say, hey, give us $500,000.
Do you know when council, the budget session is for things like projects outside of the operating budget? Do you know when that's due? No, our operating budgets are due on the
I
15th.
do, I don't have it with me though.
Okay, that's right.
Very detailed calendar that.
There's a
Sunday-
budget calendar online.
Okay, there you go.
Because I think your question, like, you would like for council to have.
No, I don't, I'm not asking for firm numbers. I'm just curious, I suppose,
Oh,
to tell them when can we expect something, and it sounds like it's still very much in the exploratory phase. So
like she said, right, Katie, you know, she's been working with this firm for this other lake they're working on. It's taken years to get this developed to even get it in the water. So obviously this is a very slow moving process.
yeah,
That's why we're trying to be out and actively in the water, so that the community sees something happening. But the big stuff that's going to happen behind the scenes is it takes a lot of time to get that set up through the correct channels. And currently, some of our channels, we've only been operating in a couple of channels. And so we're trying to broaden those channels to find out, find different resources. Like she doesn't outline Fish and Wildlife. We've opened a channel with Fish and Wildlife on how to manage the lake. They're experts in that as well. So we're using them as a channel that Herrera didn't outline. We're using Lake Management Solutions out of California. There's a bunch of different articles and technologies from different companies around the country that we're studying. I know it doesn't look like we don't have a lot, because we're not telling you, hey, go to council and tell them this, or tell them we need this, but there's a lot of science behind this. And there's a lot of science that's not worked for years and years, and people keep spending money, municipalities.
Oh, money is, yeah.
Dollars on stuff that's not working. And why would we say let's do it here. It would work here. It's
Well,
not working anywhere
A
else.
good example too is the solar bees at the end of the solar bees presentation that we all sat through and then asked our questions. Mark from Herrera said, well, I haven't seen this work in a canal before. But they're presenting at 4-hour canals.
And they were so big, you couldn't get a boat around it anyway.
Blew my mind.
So in the meantime, will other things like the alum treatment that we approved in March, I think, for 80K.
Yeah.
Little onesie twosies like that are gonna continue to come forward.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm gonna put it in the operating budget, the alum specifically, because Herrera does recommend that we do them every year, no matter what else we decide to do. So we'll put it in there with the algae or with the invasive weed treatment.
And
Hey,
the
Becky?
problem with it is every year the price is gonna go up because you.
It is, yeah.
2025 prices are not what they are 2026. It's just 1 year.
And I think we'll decide that we want to treat more next year than this year because we're doing a real spot treatment. And I think that we'll want to do more, but I'll get estimates for that before it's due to the budget.
Hey, Becky, didn't you say that we had some sort of a windmill or a bubbler or something that was ordered? Did you-
No, James was working on the windmill.
This kit in here is the thing that hangs down in the water, like under a buoy, for example, and it measures
Okay,
That's
that's
the
the
water.
one.
Yeah, it's to test the water throughout the alum treatments and beyond. The water has to be tested because we're using alum for our treatment. The ecology is very specific about like, don't quote me on this, every other week or, every 3 weeks or something, they have to get the test results. It's $2,000 a pop to have Aquatechnics do the tests for us. And it would be that much pretty much for anybody to come and do it because we're all the way out in ocean shores. And so getting here and mobilizing is most of the cost. But Terry's gonna teach you guys on Tuesday next week.
Okay, sounds good.
Ton of money that way.
There's the money.
You're gonna let us know where.
Yeah. Yep.
So one of the ways that this came up in our conversation, Jake, just so you're like, so it rings a bell, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah,
We were looking at, ultrasonic sonar, like she brought up in the call. And
Right.
on those units, they have these testers that hang down underneath them and they currently test,
Yeah,
test
that's
the
what I-
water and then
that's
send
how
it
you
back
do
to the city. Electronically.
Which is really cool.
And so we're still looking into those type of units, like she brought up, the ultrasound. That's really cool. I will talk to you about that if you want to know about the technology, but the goal is at this point, in my opinion, and I could be wrong if the group disagrees, but my goal is when I reach out to these companies, I'm trying to get companies that will say, oh, we would love to do a study in your canals, because that costs us nothing for them to do a study. And the technology is changing so fast that a lot of these companies are doing that. They're just not doing it here. So we've got to get these companies here.
Like a trial.
Yeah.
You mean more like a trial?
yeah.
Yeah.
Experimental.
Trial work.
Yeah, and so that's the direction we're currently going. Because the other direction is going to cost the taxpayers to pay money that we don't need to waste. So take that to account.
Not trying to spend it.
Did I answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
What question?
All right, so we'll move on to civic engagement discussion for 15 minutes. Go ahead.
Totally. With that huge price that was up there on the screen, and she's talking about contractors, you also have to pay those contractors on top of that. That's right.
Yes.
Wait a second, I thought that.
That's just a summary of what she thinks it would cost. But when you reach out to a contractor, a private contractor, they're gonna have their own pricing scale.
And
So
Ocean Shores will write that check to them.
that's correct.
Wow. Okay, the other thing is, those signs on the canal, which canal is which would be wonderful, because I was going down yesterday and I'm like, I didn't even know where I was at. And I saw some signs, but many places I had no idea, where I was at. And you guys getting with the homeowners and stuff to try to get it to clean up, that would be really, really nice.
Yeah, that's gonna take some organization to see
There
if we
was-
can get
there
a
was some big
citywide thing put together.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
There are people that
Yeah, but it really hard to go.
also offered to help those people.
Like, we're doing this zone based on the Herrera map and only that area, then we can take the barge around that and help people more efficiently than lake wide. We'll just do a zone at a time,
That's smart.
Yeah, we can do that.
because then we can be present. You know, we can be right there helping.
And it would help a lot too if we could get that other one cleaned off enough that we could use it as a
Yeah,
barge.
we can talk to Ricky and see if we can get that one.
Cause
You
one,
know, put
one
together all
barge,
the-
well, you know, I mean, just when we go out in one day, we've done 3 trips at the most. And it's an all-day
All
thing to do 3 trips on that. So
And then,
anyway,
then it's 3 days of recovery.
yes, it is. Oh, I'm still recovering from 2 weeks ago.
And the medical bills.
Yeah.
And the bruises. Yeah.
Yeah, we both done that, so.
Anyway,
Anybody else got any questions over here? How about online, Don or Vita?
Hello, this is Vita. I have no comment. Thank you.
And nothing here either, thank you.
All right. All right, so I guess we'll move on to, there's no meeting on September 7th because of the holiday, so our next meeting, I would imagine, is going to be on the first Monday in October. So that date will be,
It's on here, it's the 5th, it's on the agenda.
October 5th, yeah.
oh, right there, it's on the 5th of October. So, all right.
Tried to make it easy for you.
I didn't turn that.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor?
Bye.
Meeting adjourned.
We weren't gonna do